Hi, Dr. Yancey. I hope that you are doing okay and just that God's holding you up during a really hard day and during just a really hard time in a lot of people's lives. I'm thankful that the school of social work has you to walk alongside them during this time, and that you guys are all just lifting each other up this weekend and just through this whole process. So just know that I've been praying for Dr. Garland all day and for all of you, your peers, during this time. So this week's readings were really cool. I appreciate that you guys worked really hard and chose those, and just the way you broke them up too. I really loved the integration of community practice and congregational social work. This is why I chose the concentration. It's intriguing to me because, I don't have an MDiv, and so this is really like the first time, I think, really connecting the two. I think that's why we've, and we always talk about faith in practice, but actually seeing community practice and congregational social work come together, or at least try to. So I know that covering all of the main topics would be impossible just because there's so many. It would take much longer than 5 minutes, but I'll try to break down what I found most interesting and most applicable to the work that I'm doing and just in my personal life as well. So I started off by reading Dr. Polson's research, so that was cool because I had never seen that before. But he basically did the research on the diversity of churches and that relationship on the community and the services that they do. And so he found that a congregation that is more socially and ethnically diverse would provide more community services than a congregation that wasn't as diverse. So he suggested that more diverse congregations possess unique bridging social capital. So that was really relevant for me because coming from a church that is moving from Hewitt into North Waco, I know that in his research he said that if a county is more diverse, then the ethnic diversity of a congregation is more diverse, but I kind of boil that down to an area. So if we're moving into a more diverse area, which North Waco definitely is, then hopefully our congregation will become more diverse and we'll be able to do a lot more things in the community. So that was really helpful because last Wednesday we talked in our internship class about the community practice models, so it was really helpful to go through that document again because I actually hadn't looked at it, but we had talked about it, and so it was good to look through the traditional social change and direct action social change and transformative social change. I think that I more align with I think direct action. Well, I was thinking social action, so not direct action, social change, or maybe it's part of it, but social action. I think that was the first time because I've always thought of that in political context or trying to get something changed in the community, but reading that through the lens of the congregational social work stuff got me thinking how we can do that in our congregations. And I'm already way past time, so that was kind of reading all of the community practice stuff first, leading into reading all of the stuff on congregational social work from you and Dr. Garland's in the textbook, and also the articles that you guys wrote. In the textbook, you guys kind of gave a history of the social work and how it really did come from the church. And now I think that's so separate, and it needs to. Sorry, my husband's watching the game. It's so separate sometimes right now, and I think that we need to mend that in the church. But then in the 5th chapter, you kind of started defining what characteristics of a church lead to being a good primary setting for social work. And so we talked about how it's focused on belonging and kinship and friendship, and then how there's distinctive cultures within a church, and that they're mission driven, and that it's voluntary. And so all of those things make it a really primary host setting, because there are places of worship, and they're already doing missions, and they already have a direct community. And so then I read, so it's like, yes, this is so true. Churches are supposed to be advocates for the poor, and so that's kind of what was frustrating, is I think a lot of churches say that they want to do that, but have really little follow through. And then that leads into Chavez's article, when he actually did the research on what communities or churches are doing in the community and social service realm. And the things that I was reading, I was like, okay, so the churches doing social services are not holistic. A vast majority are involved, but it's at a very low intensity. And so most people of the congregation aren't even mobilized each year. It's like people are just doing these small mission trip type of things, or, serving the homeless once a year, once a weekend. And then the other thing that stuck out to me was that they're not likely to collaborate with other churches. And then, so that makes me think of, the Church Collaboration or Coalition, and then just some other churches in town that really, they need to get together and kind of learn from each other, and how important that is to our community that is made up of so many different churches. So, to hit on also Northern, who studied the capacities that social workers have, how they have different titles, and that kind of gave me more of a sense that there are churches out there that have social workers as staff. And so, tying it all together, it's now 7 minutes in, so what, how did that impact me? And so I think, and one thing I was going to talk to you maybe about earlier today, but definitely for another time, was my issues kind of with the church. And, I grew up experiencing the Lord in ways outside of the church, even though I did grow up as a church kid. And so I think I've just kind of grown a little bit bitter in how the American church has engaged in the community, because to me it doesn't reflect how Jesus engaged with people in the community, and that's definitely generalizing, and so I understand that. But I think, as the research points to, we need to shake up the churches. And so I guess it urges me to press into that space, and it seems like a space that I've never really wanted to go, but I have my own walls up and my own frustrations about engaging and moving and trying to motivate a whole body of people to participate in what Jesus has called us to do. And so for me, that just seems really hard. But I don't walk through life with clenched fists, and so I'm open to it if that's what Jesus wants. But this week's readings had a very profound impact on me, and so I apologize for the long video, but I really enjoyed this week, so thank you. And I hope I hit on some of the main points, and I hope that you have a really good weekend. And I'm praying for you and for Dr. Garland. Have a good one.